I think I have an interesting sense of what that means because my family comes from East Africa, and anything South Asian for me from a childhood outside of an academic lens has been very Bollywood and forcing myself to like Hinduism and understand these popular groups in my high school because nobody was East African and Muslim, you know? And so it was a way for me to kind of fit in with a majority Indian identity, even though I constantly say that my family's from East Africa. So I typically say, you know, to the question of where are you really from, I say, I'm East African of Indian descent. When in specific to that question, when I think of South Asia, because South Asia is a little bit different than the one that you asked me before, I think. I think of continent. I think of geography. And when I think of religion, I think of diverse religions in a continent or continents, right? Or countries. And it's it's a term that maybe expresses a broad range that doesn't have one singular meaning. And also lacks meaning because it encompasses too much, maybe. Yeah. I think there's a couple of points of reference. I think what I'm realizing is that now that I'm done school and I am able to reflect on kind of my life where I am now, you know, being 26 years old, it's quarter life crisis, right? So you're like, who am I? What's important to me? Why does this matter? Why does anything matter? And what are the values that I have? And how do I get to implement that? And I'm realizing that so much of my life I've had feet in different parts of different interests. That sounds weird, but I've had different interests, and I'm trying to understand those different parts of myself. And when Farah Khan was doing her presentation, she showed this image of this drawing, right? What is it? A cartoon, I guess, of like the different characteristics a personality can have. Right? You can be a writer, you can be an academic, you can be an activist, you can be a daughter, you can be an immigrant, you can be all these things. And I think for me, it's when we talk about anything to do with identity, whether it's religion, sexual diversity, South Asia, I think we incorporate different aspects of oneself, right? I am religious. I am a sexual person. I have an interesting connection to South Asia, right? And I think even just from the workshop and the conversations yesterday with the panelists, I'm learning how to express those different parts of myself. How do you enter a conversation without your academic hat on all the time? Or my professional hat, or just my Zabeen hat. You know, I'm Zabeen, and I have all of these different hats. And somebody asked me earlier why I was here, and I didn't like the answer I gave because I don't think it was honest. You know, we talk about gender-based violence. Well, I've experienced that in my family. We talk about diversity of racism and understanding how different South Asian groups interact or different races interact. And, well, there's that, too, because my father was kicked out of Africa because he wasn't black, you know? I have my own questions of sexual identity. Am I lesbian? Am I bisexual? What am I, right? And it becomes even more personal now, I think more than ever, as, you know, I make the decisions that are going to impact the next, 5 months of my life. I think anybody who wants to kind of be involved with these conversations, to know where you're at. Now, that's a hard thing to say, right? Because you don't always know where you're at. And we don't have enough confidence in ourselves to be just where we're at sometimes. We always have to be something else. This is the kind of society that we live in, right? Societal pressures. We have to define who we are all the time. But letting yourself know or reminding yourself that your being is fluid, and that is a good place to start because you'll let yourself ask questions. And asking questions is so important. There's no stupid question, right? So letting yourself ask those questions. Then, based on those questions, it's easier to ask other people those questions because you know what you actually want to know. And so not just ask them for yourself, but ask them of the community that you're surrounded by and resources. I mean, it's really easy to type a question into Google and see what comes up, right? So keeping that in mind, I would say start with yourself, then go to the people that you care about. Who do you surround yourself with? That's what I do. You know, I have friends in different avenues, and I think that's really, really important. What resources are they connecting with? You know, as peers, you have common interests, right? So they might lead you to something like that. More formally, I look to my community, my religion, the religious institutions that I have. That's something that I go to. So if that's something that somebody is able to have or somebody can become aware of, what resources are available. And I think when you are on a path of searching, you'll find the resources that you need, you know? There's a lot out there, and it's unfortunate that in a lot of ways we have to take initiative because these conversations are still being learned, right, on how to be had. But that's where I would start. I mean, I'm not one to usually go to other people for help and stuff, so that's a new part of my life. You know, you just start seeing a therapist, right, when you're hitting quarter-life crisis or something, you know? But, yeah, I think I wish I could give, like, a list of resources that I think would be helpful, but I think in a very practical sense, those are, I guess, initial, like, tools. At least they're the ones I'm grappling with right now.